Satnam, Siri Gopal.
Hey, thank you for having me, Taylor.
Welcome to In the Nod.
In the Nod.
You have no idea how excited I'm for this interview.
Right? I'm very happy about this.
A lot of energy is going to be running in the room.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Right before we started recording, we were talking about nude podcast because I'm wearing this nude sweater and thought that would be a genius idea.
Yeah, and I've been working on my tan so I can be more nude.
Oh
too.
my God, someone's got to do that. It's like Naked and Afraid, but the podcast version.
Well, you know, it's really interesting talking about being nude and whatnot. When I first moved to LA, I was driving through downtown LA, and I just moved here, and I was like, okay, when is like the entertainment industry going to come to me? And because I'm used to, in my life, I'm used to everything coming to me. That's just the way my life has been. It's just easy, easy come, easy go, but mostly easy come, And so I was thinking it, and then I don't know, not shortly after that, I got a cold call from somebody. I didn't even know who the person was, and they wanted to see if I could teach yoga in a reality show. And I said, sure, I'd love to teach. And it was like all celebrities, in this reality show. And I was like, okay, let's do it. But then they're like, well, we'd like you to teach nude yoga. And I was like, well, thank you so much, but I don't teach nude yoga, but I teach Kundalini yoga. And they're like, oh, we really want you. And they really tried to persuade me. I never even asked them how they got my number. Literally, I was just
Is that a thing?
Out of the blue. That happens to me. People call me. I've had people call me from South Korea to be like, come to South Korea.
So I want to come back to why things keep coming to you. But let me tell our audience what you do and why things may be coming to you so easily. The way I met you is because you're probably the most preeminent crystal dealer in California, if not the country.
Yes.
And in addition, something that I find really fascinating that you do is the home clearings or the spatial clearings. And I want to get into that.
Yes.
But do you think that the reason things come to you is because you have this other energetic field that that you work with, and so
absolutely, yes.
You do.
Yeah, I really believe that I'm big on let good things come to me. I'm really big on the aspect of being magnetic. I'm really big on the aspect of allowing, and I'm really big on the aspect of letting go. And when you can incorporate all of those and master those different qualities, it really gives you it gives anybody an ability to be a little bit more, it's to hone in what they're wanting or what's required best for them.
So is this sort of a flow as opposed to no resistance? You don't allow resistance to block any of the energy. You just sort of open to it all?
Well, if somebody pisses me off, I might be a little resistant to that.
Yeah. So I've heard.
I'm also cool with just allowing it just to happen and let it play out. You know what I mean?
So what would you say to our listeners or the myriad people out there who think that crystals are woo-woo and they really don't understand what makes them so valuable and how they speak to some people, like you and I, for example.
Right, exactly.
So
yeah.
What would you say?
We have a very nice collection yourself of crystals.
Yes, well,
very
thank
nice.
you. Thanks to you primarily, but
There we go. Well, for people who think that it's a little too much, I think that's fine with it. I'm really big on having crystals in people's homes, whether it's for decorative reasons or whether it's for energetic reasons. But here's the thing, here's a little secret. If you're doing it for decorative reasons, it's also doing something energetically. Because when you look on and gaze on things that are beautiful, whether it's a beautiful piece of art, whether it's a beautiful lover, or whether it's a beautiful, interior design, that's going to heal and provoke a level of relaxation and a level of creativity in any individual. So why not have it with a stone, which is to me like God's creation, totally
the greatest art,
and it's perfect in its perfect form.
Right, it's like anything natural. You look at a perfect snowflake, you're like, God, you can't believe these are God's creations, right?
You look at a little baby and you're like, oh my God, look at those little toes.
So what are the properties specifically in these crystals that make them so powerful?
Well, it depends on the type of crystal. A lot of it's really dependent on the type. So quartz crystals can really amplify a lot of good things in a person's life, and people can work on, in a sense, manifesting, or in a sense, I believe, for me, my experience with crystals is an aspect of thinking them as Devas, as nature beings, And with nature beings, there's a communication. Just like when someone goes to a forest or to a park or some magical little glen, like you kind of feel like the energy or like the spirits or like the little nymphs and all that. And I believe they're also in crystals as well. I call them the rock people or the stone people. And they can come through. They can come through for somebody who wants to receive a little bit more like openness to whether it's magic or whether it's an aspect of just being, again, more in tune with the divine.
Talking about angel? Are we talking about angels?
There can be a little bit of angels at work, but I think of them more as like nature beings, which is a little bit different than on the scale of when it comes down to the hierarchy of like spiritual beings.
Explain the difference.
Well, in a sense, like, there's archangels and whatnot, but there's an aspect where the nature beings or the devas, they're the ones that kind of rule the nature kingdom. And they have an ability to kind of, for anybody who's like open to them, or it doesn't even have to be open. I was telling a friend not recently about going to Iceland, and I've been to Iceland, and I told this friend of mine, I was like, you don't even have to believe in magic when you go to Iceland. You can just go out in the country, and there's just like, everything seems like some magical kingdom,
Oh, I think so too. Yeah. I feel like I'm in the Hobbit.
When you're in Iceland.
It's pretty intense. I took my son, and it was, and then you have the dancing sky, and everything's alive. Yeah, just everything's alive.
And I think that to me is the part of like working with crystals and working with nature and also the clearings. It's like, it's working with what's already there and kind of expanding the mind. It's like taking the filters off to a degree, taking any blinders off, and just being open a little bit more. It's like going to a really good movie, but that movie is over in that period of time. But whenever one walks into nature, that movie can continue. The movie is like never ending. Like the story of the stars, the story of the skies, is it on and off everyday occurrence. It's for us who are just looking at our phones, and I'm saying I don't feel myself guilty for it, but there's an aspect of we get so focused on what's right there in front of us, we can't spread out and expand.
So, talk to me about these grids that you create when you clear a house. I know that you also bury. I do. You bury crystals under, beneath, all around the house. I mean, it's a real process. Mm-hmm. So can you talk us through the process a little bit? Yeah.
So when I have a client that calls me, inquires about the wanting to do a house clearing or a space clearing, and I do it commercial, residential, and I can also do it for just properties that are just plain, nothing's been developed in a sense. Number one is like first the asking me to come on, because I believe it's really, for me, I really believe in that being given permission first. You know what I mean? I believe whoever's the owner of the property or who's the person who oversees the property or is kind of like the keeper of it needs to give me like a certain level of permission. And when that happens, I actually even have my clients not even give me the address until a certain time, because once they give me the address, I start receiving a lot of information. And a lot of it's intuitive. Sometimes it's just by the numerology of the space, and also has to do with like the aspect of just knowing whether it's a commercial, residential, like what's happening in that location. And so I have clients that once they give me that permission, I go in, I read the property using a variety of different tools and things I've worked with for many, many years. And then from there, I go into the aspect of what needs to be placed or what needs to be removed, because sometimes things need to be moved around or actually completely removed too.
Now, does this have is there a connection between the way you work with the crystals and sacred geometry?
So I would say sacred geometry that most people would be aware of is the aspect of like a very specific design. But what I'm doing is usually looking for maybe blocks in the space.
Is it a grid?
It's somewhat of a grid. I will do like the corners of a property or of a house or of a room, and then find out if there's an area that's a little bit weaker or needs to be a little touched up, and then if we're doing a full property, then I will do a kind of a crystal prescriptions that's different for each space. So yes, I will have things buried like 4 feet in the ground. You know what I mean? I'll get a large number of crystals and have them buried just to bring up the space a little bit, because I'm looking for also areas where there are going to be like dips in the field, okay? And also like where the space or the house is asking for a little bit of extra. It's almost like getting like like going to get a vitamin shot, and these crystals and also like what I do energetically is like a little boost, you know, and it's natural too. We're not, you know,
exactly.
It's natural stuff. So we're just doing just enough, just a light stuff, and sometimes it's the subtle stuff that actually can make a bigger impact than some big bulldozer, you know.
Now, do you?
I'm not opposed to bulldozers though. I like a good.
Like a big
I like a good
big
bulldozer.
bulldozer. Yeah, give me some toxic masculinity. Do you incorporate mantra?
In mantras, I do actually. I like to. I use not just mantras but prayers as well. You know,
how would you use a prayer? Do you bury like on a card?
Sometimes I actually have my clients. Well, sometimes I'll kind of I'll intuit each location, and I'll have them maybe write down something. Maybe it's an intention or a prayer, and sometimes I give them very specific things to write in their own handwriting, because when they do it themselves, they're taking a level of ownership themselves versus me being the one that is just dependent on me.
And there's energy in the actual writing.
There's energy in the writing. There's definitely energy. In some groups, they have like, they write in ink, and it's very important to write in like a fluid ink, because there's more etheric energy in that than writing in pencil or writing in like just a regular pen. So that's why, you know, quills and all these, you know, our Constitution was written in this beautiful liquid form where there's a lot more flow in it.
That may have been lack of options at the time.
Exactly.
Lack of options.
But at the same time, look how long it's lasted.
Exactly.
Or look at all these, you know, like the Dead Sea Scrolls or anything. It's all been like a lot of it's liquid form, and it's lasted. So we'll see how, you know, typewritten stuff lasts. But
now it's interesting that you bring up prayer, because it's obvious that you are a Sikh, and I know that you're a Christian as well.
Oh, yes.
So talk to me about...
No secret there.
No secret there. It's interesting, right? You know, we take what works for us, right? And we can create a hodgepodge of beliefs, but how do you reconcile the two? How do they work together for you? And how do you work your practice?
Well, for me personally, like Jesus has always played a big part in my life. I grew up in a very Christian household where Jesus was number one. Like Jesus was number one. We would have wake up early in the morning before going to school, and even before breakfast.
And Jesus would take the wheel.
But we would start with some prayers and reading some scriptures, reading some psalms, which to me are really, really lovely. The Psalms of David are so special because they go beyond, like, to me, what getting too entrenched in religion, because they literally are songs. They're literally these songs that David wrote.
I'm not familiar with the songs of David.
So the Psalms of David are like these, like, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. You know, that is like what Psalms 23. That's one of these ones that a lot of people use a lot, because he was out in the fields just singing. He was out with his sheep just singing, and then he wrote them down. They got recorded, and thousands of years later, we're still accessing them today. So, and then I'll cut to like Sikhism. Sikhism, the Siri Gopal, the scriptures of the Sikhs are also songs. They're meant to be played in a song manner, you know, and that's what's lovely, is that these things for me, they've combined. I've been able to incorporate them, not just incorporate them, but they've shown themselves, revealed themselves to me in order to be able how I can have a deeper song in my heart, so my song can come out. So the song that of David still rings true through me. The songs of the Sikhs still ring through to me. But also there's my own personal song, and I think that's what's important for most people who are listening, is that you can get into religion, you can get into spirituality, but like, what's coming through for you? Where's the heart of God in you that's being opened up, that's being like expanded?
The nature of God,
exactly.
The nature of being.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, it comes to us all in different ways, and there's not just one.
That's true. That's true. There is one. In Sikhism, we say there is but one. You know what I mean? And in the Bible, it says, "In the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." And it starts with the Word, you know. And even that's word, like even doing this in the nod, is all about the Word,
the vibration of the cosmos, right? Which sound, vibration, it's really powerful stuff.
It's easy.
And I by the way, I'm very similar to you. As you know, I'm a very serious Kundalini practitioner, but Jesus is my guy.
Yeah.
And I've managed to weave my own little pattern through the two, and it works. And it's noticeable when it's missing in my life. And that's a real barometer for me. Like, if I don't feel like that I'm using that energy, or I'm receiving it, I know I'm not working my practice. And believe me, you can see it when you're around me. Ask my kids. I mean, how many mothers have a kid that goes, Mom, I think you need to go to class today.
Oy.
Go to class. It's that time. Right?
Yeah.
So what else I wanted to get into with you is a little bit about community and what it's like. You're a leader in many communities. Like, you don't need to get into all of them, but you do have leadership roles in a variety of different communities. And
yeah, I've been involved in several different like spiritual groups, and even here in the city of Los Angeles with helping develop and also kind of move things along that aren't so pretty.
Corralling the truth.
Corralling the truth.
It's always difficult.
It's always a thing. But the thing for me that I've been really, it's been fun for me over the years is just, again, allowing things to come up. For me, like service is a big deal. Like service, being of service and volunteering. One can give lots of money away. One can like help this and donate that and make a text of support or tweet something or whatever it is.
Your hands dirty.
But I like getting my hands right. I like the action part, because the action part again moves a lot of prana. It moves a lot of life force in a person.
So prana, for those of you who don't know, is breath. It's the energy of life, right? And so
And so whenever you move your body a lot more, it actually causes one. That's why people have a yoga practice or like to work out or go to the gym or play football, because it's moving a lot of pranic energy. I even learned many years ago that someone who's got like more 8s in their numerology, they like the thrill of the prana. There's a lot of prana use, and a lot of times they like to ride motorcycles because they're literally pushing themselves through all this through prana, through life force. So it's life force. So there's a thrill through it, And
there must be things like that for surfing too, like anything where you're getting this abundance of
pushing your physical body through things. Yeah, and it's so it's a good thing. It's
also clarifying. I mean, it's so good for the mental body. It's so good for the physical body. For me, it's monumental in my life. Right. I move my body every day.
And leadership, going back to the thought aspect of leadership, is that leadership isn't something that one. Like for me, that I've actually tried to seek out. It's more of like allowing people to be like, hey, would you like to do this? Would you want to be open to this? I mean, even a week ago, actually, it's interesting because of the day I felt like I wasn't being recognized for something, and I was getting a little bit like, they should
see me.
They should see. Why is no one writing me a thank you note and sending me a bouquet or something, something like that, And literally, talk about being magnetic. The next day, I got a call from somebody saying, would you like to be on a board here in an aspect of the city of Los Angeles? Like, would you like to run for a certain office? You know what I mean?
And what did you say?
Of course, yes. You know what I mean? The answer is yes.
Does that mean you're going to be running for?
I'm running for for different positions here in the city of Los Angeles.
Well, is there anything that our listeners can support you in?
Not right now, not at this moment. But I'm bringing up more of the aspect of one day I'm feeling a little bit like I need more recognition. The next day I'm getting
you're getting it.
And whether I move through that or not, it's an aspect of, again, just allow, just flow. And if one gets a little pissed off, which I can,
everyone does,
not to see it as a negative, but just to see it as a way of again, moving more energy. Like when I get
measuring how you're responding to something. It's really important to take note of okay, am I being a little sensitive right now? Why am I being sensitive? Do I need more prana to get through this moment? And usually, I mean, it's very rare that you can't use a little extra prana. Right.
And here's the thing too, it's I'm big on, again, going back to scriptures and stuff, because I use them so much in my life. There's a scripture that says, as the day is, so shall your strength be. So whatever is going to come into someone's life that day, one has the strength for it. And it's I don't know if I want to be able to get through tomorrow. Well, tomorrow you don't have the strength today for tomorrow, because tomorrow's strength
you're presenting
will be allotted. It'll be allotted in that moment. It will be allotted in that moment.
So when I had Ren, that was something that I had to learn to deal with on a daily basis, because as you know, my son has challenges, and you realize that it does become your normal, and you do, if you've got that fighting spirit or that Kundalini warrior spirit, you are able to tackle these problems. Doesn't mean you want to, but you're given what you can handle.
He's such a great little dude. I remember he was in my office. I think you were doing something, and he came to my office and helped me bag crystals.
Oh, we've got him.
For a long time.
I've got him.
We just did bags and bags, and I was watching him to see. I was is he going to get bored? Is he going to get like anxious or restless? And he just kept bagging crystals for me.
Listen,
and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
And bags. I don't know if they're shards of crystals. I don't know what they are, Siri Gopal, but they're heavy, and there are tons of them, and they're in his room.
Well, he got them from me.
And he told me, and he's holding on to them. He's holding on to them for dear life. He's a little crystal hoarder in there. There's a lot of crystal hoarding going on in there. So, do you find that you have friendships in your community? Are you mostly the people that you are connected to? Are they mostly like-minded, or you just have a hodgepodge of groups and you go in and out? And
I'm definitely more about I like a variety. Yeah. I'm very big on variety. I'm very big on having my East Coast friends, my West Coast friends, and and then a smattering of everything all around. And that's just how I act.
And you're from Texas, am I right?
I'm from Texas, yeah.
Texas.
Yeah.
Trying to think of what else that there was. Oh, yes. Fun fact. You are I think the number one collector of Karita Kent's work.
Yes, I'm one of them. I've never compared my collection with others, but I know I'm a big fan of an artist named Karita Kent, or Sister Karita Kent.
Right, she was a nun.
She was a nun here in Los Angeles, and I've been collecting her work since I was in college, and I've amassed a large collection that I actually I've loaned out to museums. The Andy Warhol Museum borrowed some of my Karitas for a show, for a touring show that was going on. Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about her life, maybe?
She's pretty famous in the sense of like was a nun here in the 60s. She did more religious work at the very beginning of her career, and then in the 60s, mid 60s, it became more pop.
It is kind of pop religious. Pop if you look at it, it's pop religious.
And it's got like a message. Yeah. And that's again going back to what I said earlier. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, or the aspect of the nod, or the aspect of songs, the Psalms of David, or the Poris of Japji, which is from Sikhism. There's all these aspects of using the word, and there are all these aspects of using the word to create, to enjoy, to experience. And to me, like, her work is something to experience because you visually see it. But then when you see the words, that triggers another part of the psyche. And then if you speak the word, that also has another part.
And then you find yourself manifesting.
And then you find yourself having a huge collection of very nice artwork.
You've manifested this fabulous art collection.
Yeah, in the Karita world, they call me the Karita magnet. Because museums actually reach out to me and ask, have asked me for, what pieces do I have or what can I get access to, So they just know, like, I'm like approached by different people.
I can't imagine what your storage bills are like with all the crystals. I don't even want to know.
It's better. I try not to think about it.
I'm sure.
I did the other day and I was like, ooh, let's not do that again.
I've got these mammoth crystals, they're all over the place.
They are.
Right? And keeping track, and then the artwork. Yeah. So your collection goes on tour.
I do loan it out to institutions. That's kind of what I do at times. If there's my stuff's always usually up for because I have so much of it. It's not like everything's on my walls. And do you find that it's building
interest, or people has
well, since I started when I first started buying stuff to now, it's like there's a lot more people that are aware of it. And to Google Karita, Karita Kent. There's a lot more books being written about her. There's a lot more shows with her work in it, and it's fun. It's been really, really fun. Yeah, and I love her stuff. The one piece that was my favorite is called Power Up, and I was at a relative's house who had it, and I remember looking at it when I was younger.
You mean you had loaned it to the relative?
No, my relative had this piece many years ago, and I remember when I was a kid, was I in high school? I remember looking at it and being like, one of these days I want that.
Oh,
and literally since in this it's a very there's like 4 panels and it says Power Up, you know what I mean, in big letters.
Is it red?
It's a variety of colors.
Got it. Okay.
It's a variety of colors, but they're big panels, and I think that I think about this, it's like at a young age I really put a focus out there, and then that series, which is pretty rare, came to me in multiple forms, and so I was able to have my own collection and then get another one, be able to sell a piece and whatnot, and really allow it to move forward. And that was because of, again, that focus, that focus.
What we create.
And there's something about, like, to me, it's like keeping a focus, but also a little bit of I guess not just magic, but there's like an essence that one can bring up when if they like literally stay true to like what they're really wanting, their desires of their heart.
So what do you think are some of the key factors in creating one's highest potential?
So to me, a lot of it's clearing the cobwebs. So that's why I'm big on like house clearings, and also I do healing work as well. And so with that healing work and the space clearings, if you can clear the cobwebs in a physical space, it actually can translate deeper into one's mind. I remember I learned this lesson many years ago from a teacher, from a friend of mine who was very a wise woman. More of a kind of she was someone I kind of more of a mentor for me, and she talked about how when like she worked with somebody and got rid of the sweater, and the sweater because it had some, let's just say, some bad juju, some not cool stuff, because of whoever had given it to her. And so she moved this sweater on, and this lady moves the sweater on, and the lady who like got rid of, whose sweater it was, she started saying, I miss that sweater, I miss that sweater, I wish I had that sweater, I miss that sweater, I miss that sweater. And she just kept talking and talking and talking. Well, what she didn't know she was doing is that she was imprinting the energy of that sweater into her full field. So instead of just getting rid of one physical sweater, then she had to do the work.
Because she brought more.
Because she brought the energy of that sweater
all
over
those
and over
sweaters
and over and over again back in. So that's the part of like where meditation works through, and clearing the space.
Can you talk us through what you mean? That's where meditation comes through.
The meditation aspect of sitting still or being on a drive and getting into a place that's like what everyone focuses on something.
I mean, emptying the garbage. Are you saying emptying?
Everything is like in a sense of it's not just emptying. It's my aspect of clarifying, and that's to me it goes back to clearing the cobwebs. And I think that's what's really big right now is that people have got not just to clear the cobwebs, but now we're being inundated with so much. I'm jumping pretty fast.
It's okay.
But people are now going to be inundated with so much like AI and computer generated things of like where can people decipher and discern the difference between something that is truly from their own heart, their own desire, versus a manipulation from somebody else saying you need this, or someone projecting you should do this, you should do this. And that to me is why one needs to clear their cobwebs, so they know that it's coming from their true essence.
As you talk about AI and how things are moving so much quicker, as we enter into this new age of Aquarius, what do you think are crucial factors in advancing society? And what is society's responsibility in terms of how to do that? I mean, clearly, I believe meditation is important. The more people that meditate, the better, clearly. But is there something you can think of that society as whole should work on, or in this particular age?
Right now, I believe listening is a big key. Like listening. In Japji Guru Nanak talks about how when one listens, things unfold. When one listens, one is healed. When one listens, they understand the mysteries of life. When one listens, they can understand and energies or power to be able to overcome things or overcome limitations can come through. And so listening, I think, is really key. It's interesting to me, even us doing this podcast, which people can listen to or visually look at, how many people are into places of listening to podcasts now. I mean, that right there is indicative of our society is getting into a place of more of a listening mode, to listen to people talk, to listen to wisdom, to listen to stories, to listen to something hilarious. But that's, to me, is important, is listening, and then going from there.
So is it the desire for information and knowledge in listening, or is it learning and expanding one's mind through other people's knowledge?
Well, that would be aspect. Yes, absolutely, yes. But there's another part of like whenever one listens in silence, that's a next step. So then there's a part about listening and listening to podcasts, listening to someone's education, or listening to someone say something that might be of like a tidbit of wisdom or a nice poem. But there's another part of like when someone goes into the silence and you can listen from within. But it's like a progression. You know what I mean? And it's not necessarily one is lower, like
right, or
higher.
There's no judgment.
But it's an aspect of what the potential one has,
and how deep you can go.
And how deep one can go.
So I heard a great quote, and I'm sure you've heard it. It is that prayer is you talking to God and meditation is God talking to you. Have you heard that one before?
Yeah, that's a good one.
It is a good one, right?
Yes,
And it makes sense.
Yeah.
And they're both invaluable.
I'm big on just talking to God, just telling God what's up. Like, let's do this.
Like, yo.
Come on now.
Yo, now. Give me a hand here. Yeah, but like, both aspects of prayer and meditation are so important to me. And I absolutely am conscious of the difference while I'm engaged in either act. Hopefully I'm not that aware of anything when I'm meditating and I'm just in that moment. But it's a very big, important part of my practice.
I'm also big on not just prayer, but also demanding. I like to demand from God.
Tell me.
Demand and command.
Oh. No, now talk to me about this one, because this is one practice that I might want to be engaged in.
You know, when you demand and command, you know, when you know something that's excellent and there's a thing of being, someone can call it maybe a little bit of a diva attitude, you know, but when one demands,
who
commands, maybe I'm sitting across from one.
Birds of a feather.
Anyway,
it's our tribe.
So when one demands and commands excellence, you expect certain qualities of life, okay? And we can do that in the service industry where one requests this and I want it specific, or even if you get a fitting with clothing, like you want there to be a precision there. You're going out, you want a precision. Well, how about we apply that same way to God? How about we apply that same way to the universe, where we demand and command excellence from the Creator? And that, to me, is a different relationship than this, please give me, I thank you.
I think people are afraid to do
please
that.
Please give me, I thank you. That's great. Those are great relationships. But what happens if you talk to the God Almighty, the one who's like the maker of heaven and earth, the one who can like dispel all darkness, the one who can bring all light? How about we demand and command from God Almighty certain things too? And that's an aspect of called decreeing. That's what I've learned is the aspect of I demand and I command the light of God that never fails to be present in this conversation. I demand the light of God that never fails to be present to look over me, and the angels to watch over me. Not may you watch over me, watch over me. May I demand and I command that the angels of light, the angels of healing, to be present when my child is going to school. I demand and command that you look over them. I demand and I command. You know what I mean? And it's a different way of dealing with like the universe. It's like when someone mows a lawn or you trim a tree, you're not saying, oh, okay. You just, the lawnmower guys just do it. I don't know if you know in LA, they just blow everything and mow everything.
I don't know where it goes, but they're just moving it from one place to another.
It's all going. But there's a part, I'm bringing it up as an example of it's just being done. It's just you're going for it. And it's just, I believe the same way in the quality of asking God, or even when you get on Uber Eats or any of these kind of programs, one requests certain food and the food comes, okay? But there's another part of like, what about putting that same order in? It's not a request. It's beyond a request. It's we're doing this together. We're working this out together. God, you're the ship and you're the keeper of the ship, and you're also the one who's guiding the ship. I'm here to also be part of this, No,
it's interesting because it puts you on sort of the same level, like we are one with God, as opposed to more of a Catholic thing where there's a subservience there.
Right.
So there might be some sort of guilt in a Catholic saying, I demand, or please be present while this happens.
How about not please?
No, just
how
be
about
present.
How about as an experiment, we don't use the word please to God? How about try that for listeners? Like, why don't you try that for a week or a month or 3 months?
Right? No, look.
Don't say
it's powerful, but it's
please. Just say I demand and I command the highest good.
I love this.
And in this highest good, I request this and this. How about that? How about we shift it a little bit, where there's an aspect of not that God is God, we are we, but we are also within God.
Within
and God is
within
with us.
Right?
You know that. And so, like, what about we shift that a little bit? And to me, that's how I also work with, like, when I clear properties or working with the healing work, is that there's a part where there's the action part of it, but there's also an expectation that this will become clearer, that this place will become an abode for someone to rest in, that they won't be troubled by darkness.
Well, you're coming from a place of power,
yes,
instead of need.
Exactly.
And that's a much stronger vibration that you're carrying with you.
Absolutely. And that's also what I found is that, when any like spiritual person who mainly the ones we've known about, like even like there's a story of Guru Nanak that I really, really like. And there's like this guy, this maybe like a very demon possessed, angry being that was like lording over this community. And he was just creating like terror for everybody. And here Guru Nanak was coming. And Guru Nanak, what was he doing? He was coming in to sing some songs. He was coming in to sing the songs and be in the nod, so he could like shift people's consciousness, so he could get them to be like in a place like we're talking about having a different relationship with their higher self, having a different relationship with the divine, having a different relationship with their surroundings. And this demon king, this demon leader was like, I don't like this. And he literally threw a boulder at Guru Nanak. And this is a miracle story. And Guru Nanak put his hand out and stopped this huge boulder. And there's a temple, there's a Gurdwara in Pakistan that's around this whole stone. And people go and they pay homage to what Guru Nanak did because there's a big handprint right there in the stone.
Oh, I did not know that story. But
that's demanding and commanding. That's demanding and commanding. One doesn't have to become a trickster to demand and to command. One doesn't have to trick God into doing stuff.
And nor does one have to be a sheep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you demand and command.
Just holding your presence.
Yeah. Holding your
being
presence.
in your power.
Yeah.
It's so easy to understand, and yet it's hard to practice until you really understand that you are power, right? You are power. You're able to create whatever you want. And I think this is such a difficult concept for non-practitioners, of just people who don't have any sort of practice to conceive of.
It's funny, I was just
but as the miracles start to
occur,
as they unfold, you're like, holy.
It's little by little. The other day I was at the spa, and I was in the jacuzzi, and there's this other guy there. It was just one other guy
practicing for your naked podcast.
I was in my naked body, and and there was like a cold plunge and this stuff. And I told this guy, I said, you should do the cold plunge. It's really good for you. He's like, okay, thinking about it. And I said, and I just turned to him, and there we are. I said, the cold water will make you closer to God. And I could just see the God just be like, glaze over, like, oh no, what is happening now?
Right.
And I kind of get, paused.
Oh God,
I kind of paused a moment, and I said, why it makes you, closer to God? I said, because as soon as you hit the cold water, you say, oh my God,
you start praying. Yeah, of course.
But it was funny. Then he was like, haha, kind of laughed. But that was the aspect of like, when we shift little things, it can create impacts, like brushing your teeth. Like, how about when one brushes their teeth, they also demand and command God to be present in a good, dental health, or demand and command that, that these little things we do, these daily routines we do, without thinking, they can become something that's sacred.
Of course, they could be meditations.
Like when I drink water, a lot of times I actually will say a prayer over my water before I even drink it. I say to the light of God that never fails.
Well,
and then I lift the glass up and I drink.
I think it was Yogi Bhajan who said, if you hold an apple while you eat it, right, and you give it your energy rather than cutting it up. Mothers will cut up an apple for a child and then hand it to it. You have so much more power in that piece of fruit when you're holding it and you're giving it your energy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, it's funny because Tej just said that in class.
I love that.
Yeah, isn't it beautiful?
Really
and think about it.
It is.
It's true. And I love the idea that like all these biohacks that we now have, like the cold man, what's his name?
Yes.
Hof.
The Wim Hof.
Wim Hof.
Yes.
Right? Like, how long have the Sikhs been taking cold showers, right? Like,
time.
right?
Yeah.
It's the part of the practice I like the least, but I do.
Yeah.
And, it's so true that science is now merging with spirituality, which is making it so much more tangible for people to connect with, right? Like, there's just so much scientific study. Like, even now, healing frequencies, like FDA-approved sound devices. It's really incredible because these technologies have been available to us for millennia.
Well, crystals have been around people have been using them in the breastplates, the sacred breastplates the priest had in Israel, or what the Egyptians have been using, the stones
Egyptians,
for,
right.
and
how about the Vikings
on
to
and
navigate?
On, and then I like to share with people, like with people are like, well, do I believe in crystals or not? Well, if you look at a good quartz watch, a Swiss-made watch,
right,
it has a sliver of a piece of quartz, literally a piece of quartz from the ground that's helping it work correctly, that's helping it keep time because it's pulsating just enough to keep that watch working correctly.
Isn't that incredible?
And that's something that the Swiss, the watchmakers, have known for I don't know how long, hundreds of years?
Hundreds.
Yeah, hundreds of years.
If not more.
Yeah, and exactly. And so, like, why not incorporate these things into our lives? Why not use them to elevate our lives? Why not, like, have me come over into your houses?
Absolutely. First of all, believing...
Remotely or here in LA.
Do you do it remotely for people?
I do. I actually do remote. I can do... That takes... But I definitely have to permission to do that, where I can do remote readings on properties as well. Yeah.
I mean, what a fabulous business. Yeah. And I know you have some extraordinary clients.
It's fun.
Yeah, you've created such a great niche for yourself. And it's powerful. And look, this may sound a little woo-woo again, but like belief is part of the battle. Mm-hmm. Once you believe, you start seeing miracles unravel.
Yeah.
But your eyes have to be open and the resistance has to be torn down.
Move the cobwebs away.
Move those.
Actually, I demanded a command that, that people's eyes be opened. Even when Jesus was healing the blind man, they came to him and they were healed. You know what I mean? And he did it like with one story is that he like took some mud. I think he spat in some mud and then, maybe he hawked a loogie for all we know, and then put it in some mud, rubbed it in his hands, applied it on this guy's eye. I'm sure everyone was horrified to see, this 30-something-year-old guy, hawk a loogie and rub it on a blind guy's eyes. But to me, sometimes it's a thing that's the wildest, that it can be the thing that triggers us into another way of seeing or another opening up the eyes,
Exactly. And the more open we are, the more we receive. There's no question about that. It's learning how to open. That's really the challenge. It's how does one open themselves? We've got stress, we've got pain. It takes work. And that's, I think, part of why the psychedelic revolution has hit so hard, because you don't have to do as much work. Or what you do, but it's very limited. Mm-hmm. Right. But I think it's becoming too much of a pathway. It'd be nice to see people actually do the work.
Well, sit and listen.
Sit and listen. Yeah. Sit and listen, because you'll hear the same things. I mean,
because a lot of things we're doing is one can repeat history in a way that's moving into the more generating, excelling part of humanity, or one can go into recreating history of the things where there's the downfall of humanity. It's really our choice. I mean, it's absolutely our choice, and it can happen as simple as flipping somebody off at a red light, or saying, hey, bless you, but still fuck off.
Right. That can ruin my day, by the way. If I get flipped off for no reason, it can ruin my day. I have to talk myself out of it, do a couple of wahegurus, and just move on. But this is why I'm talking to you about, like, overall consciousness. How do we usher in the age of Aquarian as a universal group? Like, what do we do to make it easier on mankind, on humankind?
It's happening regardless. The stars they've already moved into all the alignments of the stars has already happened. It's about, like, how can we play with those stars, play with those designs, and play with those designs within ourselves.
How can we?
Examples. I mean, I've already mentioned listening.
Listening,
is a really powerful one. I'm big on, like, allowing oneself to go into a deeper state of, like, when one sleeps at night, like listening to music, listening to some sacred music when they go, or listening to sacred scriptures when they go to sleep. When I was a kid, like, I listened to, my parents put like Bible verses on, and I would listen to Bible verses all night long. And that really, I think about that as an adult, I'm like, well, it's kind of interesting, like having Bible verses being read, all night long while I'm sleeping. But it makes sense because it's like going deeper into the programming of something that's very high and uplifting, if not working into the mysteries of life, so the mind as a child or the mind as an adult can start to move them and unravel them. So in this Aquarian age, we can not just being pushed around, but we again can be in a place of leadership and around it by having the word within us and using our words to, like, again, to man to command, to, like, literally create, and also being, of course, always being in a place of thy will be done.
Do you find that children now, the children that are being born in this era, are a little bit more highly elevated, or are you seeing signs of them with a more connectedness to spirit? Because I do. Mm-hmm. I think they're way more evolved than the children I grew up with.
Oh, wow. I mean, I'm around a lot of conscious kids. So that kind of,
maybe that's it for me too.
So I'm very, I'm somewhat used to being around parents who really want their kids to explore more of that. But it doesn't.
So it's hard because we're in a bubble.
Like we're already in that. But at the same time, for those who aren't, that or see themselves in kids that might not be as well informed or just open, that kid's still got a journey. That's the beauty of them, is that they've got a lifetime to expand into things. One doesn't have to become super instantaneous. It can happen over a period of time.
Yes. However, the long road tends to be the more painful road, as I can tell you.
Okay.
And I am here to tell you that when you take the long path, you choose. Look, I chose it.
Take the long
way home. Yeah. I definitely chose that path, and there was a lot to learn along the way. But with it came a lot of trials and tribulations. It'd be nice to help your children off on an easier path, the path of least resistance. Mm-hmm. Okay, so closing up, let me ask you, when you enter the pearly gates, what would you like God to say to you?
What would I like God to say to me personally? I think I would really like that. Get in here. You know what I mean? And give you a big hug. I think that's the big thing. That's my big one.
Come here, open your heart, and let me embrace you.
Let me embrace you. And then I have my relationship with God is very, I'm very verbal with God. I sometimes sense.
You're not bossing him around?
When I'm not.
You're not bossing around.
Not necessarily that, but, I do have an aspect of, I feel like I do believe that God is a very jealous God, and God really wants a lot of attention from us. And
so well said.
And I believe that when I get there, I'll be like, okay, you got me. You got all of me right now. You know what I mean? Because there might not be as many distractions as we have here. But the distractions, again, are just about bringing us closer to God, regardless if it's a fun distraction or if it's a negative distraction. Regardless, it's all about bringing us closer to ourselves.
Do you have any fear of death?
I don't. I think about death a lot. So I think about, I plan my funeral. I have what songs I want to have played. I'm very big on thinking about death. I know what my face, where my hands to be. I'm very big on what I want the whole funeral to look like.
Really?
Yeah, it's not morbid, but it's definitely.
No, I don't think it's morbid at all.
Or for me, I don't see it as. If people see it as morbid, that's good. But I think that's another part of being fearless. Of not fearing death, or as we say in the yoga practice, it's called mudit. You know what I mean? Beyond death.
As my friend said to me earlier, he said, "I am not afraid to die. I just don't want to."
Yeah.
I just don't want to. I can identify with that.
Right.
So, Siri Gopal, how do people connect with you who are interested in a clearing or interested in looking at your collection of beautiful crystals, or maybe renting out your Karita Kent collection? I mean, there's a lot to connect with you on.
Well, there's a couple of ways. For me, the way I've worked predominantly is all word of mouth. So people ask me, how do people know you? I'm like, well, it's just word of mouth. And that's really served me very well, because again, it works into that aspect of letting things come to you. But I also have 2 websites that people can go to. It's propertyclearings.com. And then if you look up my name, SiriGopalsingh.com, SiriGopalsingh.com, one can see the list a little bit more about me with what the healing services that I offer. And then there's always more than that. You know what I mean? Those are kind of the websites that show what I do, but I do more than just those 2 things. But to put it all out there,
yeah, right.
To put it all out there is to sometimes it confuses people, because some people can be so linear. They're like, well, how can you do this and this? How can you be into the gurus, but you're also into Jesus? I'm like, well, how can you like vanilla and also like strawberry? What's called a Napoleon, where you get a little bit of everything. You get the chocolate, the vanilla, and the strawberry.
Now you're going Italian.
You can be a fruit. You can be super waspy, or you can be super exotic. That's the chocolate.
Yeah, but I think it's great that you have the opportunity to explain it, because for some people, they've grown up in that linear space. And it is hard for them to understand. It's not for me at all. I mean, for me, it's second nature because I've been doing that my whole life. But I take a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
I think I'm always looking for the cherry on top.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if you've had enough meat and enough bread and enough of the substance, it's nice to get those little delights. And those delights are the surprises to me that come every day, like being here with you.
It's so, oh my God, I'm so happy you came. I feel like this was such a get for me. And I just knew you'd be a charming, adorable guest and that people love being around you. I mean, honestly, when you enter a room, Siri Gopal, you feel it. It's like just a massive breath of oxygenation and freshness and beauty. And it's like the divine. Wow. So I really am so grateful for you being here. And I was wondering if in closing you might lead us out in a prayer. How do you feel about that?
Sure, if you want us to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, what's nice about prayer is that it's universal. It doesn't mean that it's just for now, it's for always.
We're doing this for always.
This is for always. Okay. God, Father Almighty, we thank you for this time to be together. I thank you for all those who are listening and for all those people who will listen in the future as well. I ask that you just blessings will rain down on them, that your blessings of peace will rain down on them, that your blessings of love will rain down on them, and the blessings to know that they are one with you, that they are one with you, that they are one with you will rain down on them. And I demand and I command that your Holy Spirit, your presence, the light of God that never fails, will spark that divine light, that divine fire that rests in everyone, whether those who are listening or those who are around these people. And that divine light will spark in them greater joy. And that divine light will create greater healing and greater comprehension of their plan, your plan for them as they create, enjoy, and live in you. Amen.
Amen. That was beautiful.
Thank you, Jesus.
That was really beautiful. Thank you so much. Come back.
I will. I appreciate that.